Hi Sam.
Hello, Dad.
What are we doing here then?
Well, another video of Norwich City Station. Bits we
Look
missed.
up, I can't talk to the top of your head.
Bits of we missed at Norwich City Station.
Bits that we missed on our last video.
Yes.
We did, didn't we? Well, so where are we standing at? What is this that we're standing on
Buffer
here?
stops. Well, this here is a ramp.
It's a ramp, is it?
Yeah, and the banana skin, which you said has seemed to be gone.
Yeah, I think the banana skin's gone. There was a banana skin down there last time, wasn't there?
Yeah, and this is not a ticket barrier. These are ramps.
They're ramps, aren't they? And what used to happen on here, can you remember?
Lorries.
Lorries used to come up here, didn't they? Yep.
And do it.
Yeah, probably load stuff onto the backs of the trains.
And also we found an amazing thing. We found the coal stage.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in a little while.
Yeah.
Because we've got a bit of a special day here today, haven't we?
The open day of Norwich City Station.
The open day?
Yeah.
Really?
They have it every year.
Yeah.
In May, I think.
In May. Okay.
They have it every year in May.
So we went. Come here a minute. Come here. Don't run off. We went on a bit of a talk, didn't we? And a walk and a talk right round earlier on with John, didn't we?
Yeah. John Batley.
Yeah. And what's John do?
He's an excavator for this operating team.
I think what we'll do is we're going to go and have a quick look at the platform, right? Okay, here we are. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. We're at
This is platform.
Stand back a bit. Platform 1, isn't it?
Yeah, platform 1.
Platform 1. And how long is platform 1?
660 feet.
660 feet. That's amazing, isn't it?
Said that on the other video.
Yeah. Well, I know we said it on the other video, but I still think it's amazing. Anyway, and that used to go right across over there where the roundabout is, didn't it?
Yeah. And
into
all the
station.
way down there.
And all the way down there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. Well, John had a talk here earlier on, didn't he?
Yeah,
so
he did.
shall we have a look, see what he said?
Yeah.
Okay.
What you see before you is the remains of platform 1. Platform 1 and platform 4, which was in Halfords car park, were 660 feet in length, believe it or not. And there were 2 bay platforms of 250 feet in length. Now the 2 bay platforms are normally used for coaching and wagon storage. All trains from Melton and Constable would come in on the platform 1 here. And the original building was at the end of the roundabout, believe it or not. It's that far back. That's how long this platform was. Okay. Once your train came in, your train would, the locomotive would reverse around the siding and run round itself and head off to the engine shed to be recoaled or watered or whichever it needed to be doing. What I'm going to show you first, before we carry on, is a picture. I know it's a little bit threadbare and manky. It's taken literally where we are standing, looking north in 1958. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what it used to look like. Sorry, it's bending a little bit there. That's what it used to look like, okay? See all that, yeah? Now the line closed to passengers in 1959, 29th February 1959, but freight continued here until July 1968. Freight was a very high concentration in this area because lots of, obviously the housing estates nearby were all Victorian and they all needed coal for their coal fires. So the yards were still used until 1968 for coal traffic. After July 1968 the yards obviously fell into disrepair, and in 1973 the line was lifted. Okay, so we hark back to the Middle and the Great Northern Joint Railway. We're going back to 1893. Now, the Middle and the Great Northern Joint Railway existed until 1923 on their own. Now, in 1923, the Big Four came into fruition. That is the LNER, the LMS, the Great Western. So I think the last one, and the LNER, so I thought the LNER. So we had the Big Four. Now the LMS and the LNER shared City Station. They had joint ownership until 1936. In 1936 the LNER took over sole responsibility for the Middle and the Great Northern until 1948. 1st of January 1948 British Rail came into fruition. Now, we all know about British Rail. Now British Rail had a real loathing of City Station. They wanted rid of City Station because of the freight concentration, etc. that was still coming in here. Glass bottles, coal, cattle were still coming in here. They couldn't close the line until 1968. when the coal concentration was moved up to Victoria, where Sainsbury's now is. I don't know if you know where Victoria Station is. So once the coal concentration get removed, they soon shut this down. So that's your potted history. Another piece of history, the Second World War. Now I hark back to the 2 nights of April 27th, 28th, 1942, when the Luftwaffe bombed Norwich very, very heavily. On the first raid, we know from extensive research that the city station was targeted. This whole area was targeted because it served the Midlands. Now, we all know that Hitler got his target information from the Baedeker guidebooks, which was like a Holby guide, okay? So basically any city that was in the Baedeker guide was bombed. April 27th, 28th, again, this station was heavily bombed. The original station was completely gutted by incendiaries. The platform canopies were all destroyed, just leaving the spandrels sticking up. The signal box was blast damaged, the original engine shed was completely knocked out. But believe it or not, the station was back in operation within 2 days. That's all the signalling knocked out, everything, okay? Stuart's going to show you this piece of glass. You all see this piece of glass? Very heavily, thick piece of glass. It's burned. This is how ferocious the fire was. This is original canopy glass from 1882.
It's from Attlebridge, is it?
We sourced this at Attlebridge Station. When the station was bombed and they cleared all the rubbish, detritus away, they shipped all the broken glass to Attlebridge, 2 stations up, and dumped it all in the siding. We got a call from a gentleman saying he had some glass in his back garden. We think it's rather quite poignant that we've got this piece of glass. But feel free on the table to have a look at it. I mentioned the bay platform. When we come back, please feel free to walk up the Stiggle track and you'll see the original bay platform. I've given it a bit of a clean up, but obviously be a bit careful, don't go over the edge. But that, where the bay platform is, there's 2 almost like buffer stops are there, okay? Big picture in front of you, you can quite clearly see. I'll stand up there and I'll hold it up for you. This is the original station. Okay, can you all see that? Okay, it was 250 feet in width and 2 towers on each end of 50 feet apiece. Okay? It was built in a Romanesque style, which had red brick and all the edges were all yellow brick. So it was an absolutely gorgeous building. Obviously until April 1942, when unfortunately it was gutted by the incendiaries, and within 2 or 3 days the entire building was knocked down. But City Station did survive. In 1944, the end of the station was actually rebuilt with some very crude concrete sectional huts. But everything else remained. So what you can see here, we excavated this in 2010 to 2012 by hand using spades, forks and wheelbarrows. We did have a digger for 1 day, which did help, but it's all been done by hand, okay? It's all original brickwork from 1882, and quite remarkably, we've still got 3 sleepers in situ. We don't know why they were left, but they're still there, and they still have the original holes which held the metal chairs, as you can all see. So we'll just move up a little bit. You're probably wondering why there's holes in the wall. Basically, in this picture that I showed you, I'll do it again, can you all see the little shunt signal on the ground? There's a little disc with a line through it, okay? That is called a dolly shunt signal. That's what we call it in Norwich, okay? Or rather we call it a dolly. instead of having a massive signal on the siding, the signalman would pull his lever in the south signal box and it would turn the disc to a angle. That would then let the crew know they could pull out, obviously off the siding, back onto the main line. Here, I don't know if you can all see it, is the concrete mounting for the dolly shunt signal. That is that there, okay? It's mounted on a concrete plinth. There's a paraffin powered lamp behind it. So that is that. Behind that is another concrete section. That is a point rodding bearer. Now what that does, and that harks back to these holes in the wall, okay? A rodding went under the track and along the platform wall, you can see, to release the low 2 shunt point at the other end so the train can actually run round its point. So these two are quite significant, which sort of marries up with the picture that I showed you originally. Okay? So that's quite nice. So what we're going to do now, we're going to move on to the next piece which we've excavated for you. Health and safety, just all be aware of bikes coming up and down the track, okay?
Okay, so where are we now?
At the coal stage.
At the coal stage.
We walked right past it.
We did
time.
on our first video, didn't we?
So
Because
it's
we didn't know it
covered
was
with
here. It was all grown over, wasn't it?
But I came here the week after and came here down with fonks and we dug it out.
Ah,
It's
right.
here.
Okay. So, we're going to go up and have a look?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Show which bit you dug.
Come on then.
I dug this bit.
Come on then. We were up here the other day doing some digging, weren't we?
Yeah.
Hey?
We were up here.
That's it. Look at that down there.
This is the coal stage.
It is the coal stage, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what would have happened here?
Well, trains used to come along here.
They did, didn't they? And they'd have all their coal and water put on and everything, because there was a water tower right there where the path is, wasn't
And
there?
there's more there.
And there's more there, yeah, I know. Yeah, so, yep. So we can have also, should we have a look, see what John said about this as well, because he came up here and gave a talk on this one, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So,
Okay then.
Right. You're all wondering what this is I'm standing on. Okay. This was the coaling stage for all the locums that came off the shed. There was a line beside me here and a line beside me at the back. The coaling stage is around about 70 feet long and about 30 feet wide. The trucks would come off the shed with their coal and all the coal would be put into hand buckets, and this is a crane mounting. This is a pintle mounting. There is a crane on the end here and it would be put into the tenders by hand. Okay, there wasn't a coaling machine here at City Station. It was all in buckets, onto the crane, into the tender, and beside you, where you're all standing, was a water tower. So you could do both things at the same time on each individual locomotive. If it needed water, it could have water. If it needed coal, it could have coal. We know it's here. It goes all the way to the end. This is another project we want to try and excavate the whole thing. We are in talks with Norfolk County Council. We intend obviously to remove the rest of the trees, to expose the rest of there's another 100 feet of platform behind it, still buried. This is hopefully going to come out as well. So that's your coaling stage. I don't know if Stu's got a picture in his... Alright, now
There's one on the table back up there.
We'll move on, and then obviously if you want to have a look at some pictures of the original crane, we'll do that when we come back, okay? So the next thing we're going to move on to is the engine shed.
Hi Sam,
hello.
where are we now?
We're at the engine shed.
It's good here, isn't it?
And you know those things I thought were the beginning of rails? They're not.
No, they weren't. That's where buffers were, isn't it?
Yeah, they went as wide as rails.
Yeah.
I thought they were, but Mum, you didn't see these, did you?
No, I didn't.
Buffer stops in here.
Buffers?
They're
See the metal
buffers.
bits, look.
Well, show me with your fingers, darling.
Look,
See?
The way there, look.
Oh, wow.
It's a buffer.
Wow.
There's one on the other side as well.
Is there?
Look.
Well done, Sam.
Where is it? Oh, there it is, there, look.
Yeah.
So what they used to do was to drive the trains on,
Yeah.
You just drive the trains on.
So the buffer stood up here, did it?
Buffer
Yeah.
stood here, and they drive the train in from that end.
Yeah.
Then,
And there's one down there.
and one down there as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
One down was there. And there's one down
Well,
there.
we were here a little while ago with John, weren't we?
Yeah.
And he did quite a big talk about the engine shed,
Yeah,
didn't
so shall we see what he says?
he? Shall we see what he says?
Yeah.
Alright then,
In
okay.
there.
Right, here we are, engine shed. Now, the original engine shed was built again in 1882. It was a 3-road engine shed. As you can see, this is a 2-road. With 2 photographs. On this page. The top one is the original shed. You can quite see it's all nice and grand and lovely and beautiful and gorgeous. Second one. Basically, the LMER put up a corrugated iron 2-road shed, but they did build quite a nice engineering brick base for it. This survived until 1975, when it was dismantled and taken to the North Norfolk Railway at Wadeham. So the framework still survives, but you can quite clearly see the difference between the two. Whereas they spent Midland Fakenham Railway Company spent lots and lots of money on this one, and the LNER just basically built a shed. This one had 2 pits. You can quite clearly see the 2 pits. These pits are in remarkable condition. I know I'm saying it. They're in remarkable condition. Okay, they are still intact, still fine, but obviously the council has filled them in with clay. So yeah, 2 pits to work on the engine. And at the end of the engine shed, there was a little workshop for the fitters to work in. There was a tool room, etc. there. Okay, so that's the engine shed. I wish you'd be so kind. Thank you so much. No, I'm not. Around
Down here, what are we going to find?
The turntable.
Go on then, you show us where it is.
Let's go and have a look then, shall we?
Here was also more of the coal stage because there was a track along here and then a track along here leading down to the
Oh, what's this bit then, Sam?
ash pit. That was part of track 2 for the coal stage that used to come along here.
Did it?
To get to the turntable.
All right. So what?
They've had that ash drop, now they've had the coal put in.
What? So the ash drop was up here, was it?
Yeah, well, this
Yeah.
is where we walked in and we thought the coal stage was, and we kept saying here it is and there it is.
And there it
It's
wasn't.
not.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
it wasn't
right.
there and all.
Yeah. I know.
And then oh, here it is and it's just a pile of logs.
Okay.
My brother-
So what's all under there then?
This is a sleeper position.
Right.
Is that where the sleepers used to be?
Yeah, are you
Right.
videoing?
I am. Yeah. What went on here then?
Well, this is the ash drop and
The ash drop and the what?
turntable.
The turntable.
And the 3 sleeper positions.
Okay. Yeah.
I brushed out earlier on the talk when they came up here.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
And it's the bottom of the position there for the sleeper.
Okay.
The sleeper 1. And there 1, 2, so the second one here.
There's another one in there, is there?
Yeah, there's another one just there. Look.
Oh yeah. Look. You can see it under there. Can't you?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's part of the turntable, that is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's here.
Yeah.
So where would the turntable have been, Sam? Point.
In there.
It would have been in there.
How big was it, do you know?
60 foot.
64.
And there's another sleeper position there in the rubble here because there's 3. 1, 2, and 3.
3. Yeah.
And what's this bit at the back?
This
Because
is
that
the
looks like...
ash drop. This is the ash pit.
And what happened there then?
This is where locomotives could come off and have their ash drop. But they can't dig in here because it's, well,
Is it full up with water?
yeah.
Is it like a swamp?
Yeah, I don't know why it's got drainage holes in the bottom of them.
That's probably because of when the river rises, the water runs back down the drains and fills this up, I should think.
Yeah, because
That's probably
they've
what
got
happens.
very old drainage holes in here which go to the river.
Well, John Batley had a talk about all this, didn't he?
Yeah, so we'll see
When all
what
the
he
people
says
were
then.
here. Shall we have a look, see what he
Yeah.
says?
Yeah,
Yeah?
let's have a look, see what he
Okay.
says.
Flooded in 1912 really badly.
Was that ancient shape already exposed, or did you uncover that?
We didn't uncover it. When we were, I should say, removed from site in 2012 by Norfolk County Council, they feared that there would be, they thought the shed was made of asbestos, which I clarified it wasn't, it was corrugated iron.
So that was already
Because of the
uncovered.
threat of asbestos, they brought in an external company and they felled all the trees and looked for asbestos. They didn't
So they
find
uncovered
any.
that.
Didn't find any. But it's cleared the shed, so
Great,
we
yeah.
are. Just wait for Stu to bring up the rear. You might probably think why I brought you all into a little bit of wood here, but Stu has got a really nice picture that he does ghost images. You've seen them on the table back at the entrance where he mixes the old with the new. Now in 1960, this picture that Stu's got, this was the last train that went out of Norwich City Station on an M&GN tour. This engine survives at the North Norfolk Railway. It's B12 61572. Now you can quite clearly see that there is a pit in front of this engine. Okay, the train is being turned on the vacuum turntable, which is all behind you. Okay, this is the pit that Stu has mixed with the old and the new. Okay. Now in 1931, when engines got larger, the LNER had to put in a larger turntable because they had a smaller 40-foot turntable right near the station. Okay, so here they put in a 60-foot turntable. The turntable was turned using the vacuum brake on the locomotive. Now everyone knows that steam engines have vacuum brakes. So what they did, they would bring the loco over the pit, onto the turntable, connect up the vacuum hose and use the vacuum brake to turn the engine on its own. So the fireman didn't have to keep pushing it around on his own on some manual turntable. This is the pit that you see in this picture, okay? Now Stuart's was a relative or friend, a former boss, yeah. When the station was finished, Stuart's friend boss demolished the original turntable by explosive. There we go. So that's why we have tried looking in here. We probed in here. We can't find anything because we know it's been demolished by one of his buddies. So we just thought we'd bring you in there because the picture just is really, really neat because it just shows the locomotive on that turntable being turned before it went on its last journey. Out from City Station. Okay, so we'll head back to the main line now. Because we're going to do lovely lady's got my flag, yes. The next piece we're going to do is going to be a minute's silence in the story of the B-24 Liberator Lady Jane. But I hope you will join me all in a minute's silence once we get there. This is a very tragic story. I'm going to tell this story. It's something that I feel very strongly about. On 26th of November 1944, a B-24J Liberator, based at the 458th Bomb Group at Horsham St Faith, was on a practice mission. The crews hoped the practice mission wasn't going to take place on the day because the visibility was down to 500 and 600 yards. The pilot of the aircraft, which was known as Lady Jane, was a 20-year-old Second Lieutenant Ralph J. Dooley. He was 20. He was in command of a 10-man Liberator bomber. He was 20 years old. So on the practice mission itself, he tried in vain to try and get down at Horsham St Faith, which is only literally 2 miles up the road. Okay. He overshot the runway and then tried to go round again to land. As he went round again, the visibility dropped, so he was on instruments. Okay. As he headed back towards Horsham St Faith's runway 28 to make an emergency landing, he clipped the church steeple of St Philip's Church in Higham Grove. This knocked around about 20 feet off his starboard wing and his horizontal stabiliser. Now, if anyone knows how big a Liberator bomber is, it's bigger than a Lancaster. Slightly bigger, okay. After he clipped the church steeple, he desperately tried in vain to avoid all the built-up area around here. But as he came across the yard, which was a railway yard, all this was railway yards, the aircraft suddenly went inverted and crashed around about 200 feet from where I'm standing. I would take you to, it's just a road. So what I thought I'd do is I would do it here, okay. All 9 men on this Liberator bomber perished, okay. It came down really hard. Some of the crew actually did manage to get out, but unfortunately the fuel tanks ruptured and they all were engulfed in flame. Many rescuers tried to get to the crew who were out of the bomber at the time, but this was a coal concentration area, so beside each track was high piles of coal. Rescuers tried in vain to crawl up the piles of coal to get to the poor airmen, but it just was no good. Okay. So they all died. All gone. Really, really tragic. What's more tragic is the co-pilot, Arthur Aitken, was Ralph J. Dooley's best friend. He wasn't rostered to fly on that day, but he loved to fly. So he took the original co-pilot's place. Okay. The original co-pilot was visiting another base in East Anglia because his brother had been killed over Germany. Okay. So they both died together in this, what we're going to describe as a horrible, horrible incident. It was witnessed by so many people who saw the plane actually, because it was towards daylight, saw the plane actually crash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flowers from the nice lady who's got my flowers, and if you'd all like to join with me, a minute's silence in tribute to the 9 crew who died on November 26, 1944, who never returned home to the States. I'll just place these on here. We do this every year as a mark of respect to the crew, so that their sacrifice is never ever forgotten. Although it's not railway history, it is part of the history of the station. So in honour of the crew of Lady Jane, if you'd all like to join with me in a minute's silence to remember the fallen. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you. Right, the last piece we're going to do is a little bit more light-hearted than this. Okay, so we're just going to make our way up to the bridge, which you all know up here, and we're going to regale you with a really strange tale of the train that went into the river.
Okay.
Hello again.
Where are we then?
we're at a bridge where a train crashed.
It did, didn't it?
Yes, and we got the wrong side last time.
We did, didn't we? So we're here to put some wrong information right, aren't we?
Yeah.
On your last video, we thought that the train crashed on the other side of this bridge. In a minute, we'll go upstairs and have a look at where we said it crashed.
Yeah.
But apparently, it crashed right over there, didn't it?
Yeah.
It came down that bank.
Yeah.
And why did it crash? It crashed because
Buffers.
a signalman or a shunter, a young lad, wasn't it, who got, he was a
It was a junior shunter.
junior shunter, and he got it wrong, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he
He was just relaxing there in the sun, and he
Is that
forgot
what he
to
did?
leave the points.
oh
Yeah.
no, that's no good.
He left the points onto the siding.
Yeah, well, we were here with John Batley earlier on,
Yeah.
and he gave a talk about it,
Yeah.
didn't he? So should we have a look, see what he said,
Yeah.
and then come back in a minute and we'll talk about what we did while we were here last time.
Yeah.
How's that then?
Yeah.
I just need Stuart's image. Blimey.
Well, almost. You're right, it's going round.
That's going round. That's going round. That's all about. Right, a picture. Can you all see the picture? I'm going to move it around. Don't worry, move it around. Can you see there's a train in the river? We are standing looking at that exact spot.
You found your relics in the train?
No, I'll tell you the story. This is amazing. Okay, 6th of November 1946.
Are we allowed to take a photo?
You can indeed. 6th November 1946. The evening freight to South Lynn was ready to depart City Station. Didn't get very far because the shunter. Now, if anyone knows anything railway, I'm holding. A shunter controls the points. Okay, points which trains go on different tracks. On duty that evening was a junior shunter. Now the junior shunter had not set the points for the main line. Okay. The head shunter, as he didn't hear from the junior shunter, dispatched the train. Now, beside the main line, because it's a single line, were two sidings. Now, the crew, David Jackson, Henry Scott, suddenly realised that the track wasn't as normal as it should be, because they were travelling up the siding instead of going over the bridge. They crashed through the buffer stops and ended up in the river. Okay. They were both unhurt, believe it or not, only minor injuries, and the minor injuries were from the first wagon that was behind the loco, which had barbed wire on it. Oh, the front part of the loco went in, as you see, and the tender went upright. That meant all the water from the tender went all over the crew, dousing the fire, etc. The two crew climbed from the wreckage, reported the accident, and were sent home in a taxi and reported for duty the next day. Now, the train, well, it ended up in the river for about a week. But the crane to remove it had to come from Thorpe Station. Thorpe Station is 1.5 miles away, but by rail it was 60 miles away, because it had to go from Thorpe via Cromer, via Melton Constable, and come down here to remove the train from the river. Now the locomotive was removed, yeah, and it continued in service, believe it or not, until May 1958, when it was withdrawn and scrapped. So it was no worse off for its adventure in the Wenton. But the locals loved it, because the tender was full of coal. So all the locals on Higham Street, Derby Street, Midland Street would run across the meadow over here and raid the tender when the crane wasn't here. Okay? So lots of coal fires burned happily for around about a week with free coal. So that ends your tour, okay? And if you want to come back, see some photographs, ask questions, or ask questions now, if you want to do, we're more than happy to do so. There'll be another tour at 1 o'clock. You've got a question?
That fireman from that engine,
Yep.
I'd never seen that photograph before until he came to one of my exhibitions. And he said that they were put back to work the next day. There was nothing said about it. There was no inquiry, there was no health and safety review. Nothing more said about it.
Can you imagine if that happened today? The trauma, it's an amazing story. And I just think, because we've spoken to David Jackson, when he actually spoke to him on the phone, it was like, wow, I'm speaking to the chap who ended up in the river. That, it's amazing. And Stuart actually met him in person, and Stuart has got a picture of him holding that picture.
What year was that, did you say?
1946. 1946, so yeah. But it's good to know that the train, looking at that picture, you would think it would have been scrapped, but it was literally pulled out and returned to service.
David Jackson said that as the train, the fire started coming out of the boiler, and he thought, oh no, I'm going to get burnt. And it was then that the tender thankfully emptied the water all over him. Probably saved his life.
There we go.
So we can just have a photo.
Yeah. We'll be right. Just going to accept the way.
Thank you very much.
Just step back a bit.
Thank you.
No, wait a bit. Lady wants a picture of the men.
Thanks, thank you. And the spot where it happened.
And thank you all for observing the minute of silence for the Liberator. We really appreciate that.
Right, this is where we made the mistake, isn't it, of our last video?
Yeah.
Because we thought
It was that side.
it was that side, and we
Before it
actually,
came off.
yeah, I know. We thought we thought the train was coming from that way.
It was coming
Yeah,
from
from.
that way and it fell in
So
the river there.
what's down that way? Helston, isn't it?
Yeah, Holston.
Yeah. So we thought the train was coming from Helston and fell down that side.
Yeah, or either from Melton Constable all the way up 26
So now
miles.
we know
What it really is.
what really happened. Yeah. So what train was that?
J17 steam locomotive.
Yeah.
And one of the injuries, which was really bad, but I don't know how they got injuries, is the first track after the tender was full of barbed wire.
Yeah.
And
But
it didn't even hit them.
They didn't get that badly injured because John just said that they were back at work the following day.
I know, because they had the water from the tender.
Went over and so they didn't get burnt.
Yeah, because they thought they were going to get burnt because of the fire.
Yeah.
And then they weren't going to,
No.
because the water from the tender, as the tender had tipped up, it had all splashed all over them.
All right.
Fire out, didn't it?
Yeah.
So where are we going now?
Oh, but just to say one thing though, what did happen
Right.
was it was good for people with need of coal, because coal knickers.
Stay still.
People kept coming up here, walking by the track, making sure there's no trains.
How much coal do you think a tender would hold? How many tons do you think?
I have no idea, but it came up. They kept coming up, and they just kept nicking it out of the tender.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, before the crane came.
Yeah, but that's good, really. I mean, that done them all a favour. There weren't a lot of money in those days, and people were struggling, so that was good,
they were
really.
on rationing then, because it was in the middle of a war.
Yes, I know. Yeah, it's hard. Times were hard. Just tell me all that again.
Well,
Water tower.
about the water tower down at Holt Station
Yeah.
for the North Norfolk Railway,
Yeah.
there's
Where did it come from?
that came from here, and all the trains came from here. Everything from here, which is there, came from here.
Really?
Yeah.
Right, so all the stuff that's still there that you can go and see now is all from here is all there, is it?
Weybourne Station.
Right.
What's special about Weybourne? What's Weybourne got?
Weybourne, I need to say, is based off Drayton. And you know the other one is based. You know the other one after Weybourne or before?
Sheringham.
No. There was
Holt.
There's another one in between them. Something Heath.
Kellingheath.
Kelling Heath is based off Helston,
Is it?
and Sheringham is based off Ettlebridge.
Okay.
And Holt is based off here.
Okay.
But they didn't put 4 platforms in there, they only put 2.
Only put 2 in, did they?
No, the second one, most people you only use the first one, but on big days when that railway's really busy, they have coaches going up and down both lines.
Right.
Both platforms.
Yeah.
We've
So-
been on that, haven't
We've
we?
been on that, haven't we?
Yeah, we've been on the second platform before, but not got into a train on it.
Yeah.
And
But
they don't
apparently-
have ramps at the end of the line. At the end.
It's really good if you go to Weybourne, you know. You drive to Weybourne, go and have a cup of tea and watch all the trains go by.
I know,
Yeah.
it's the same as Sheringham.
Yeah.
At Sheringham it's extended though, because Sheringham's the same as Attlebridge, as I said. But after that, they have a massive level crossing now, which goes right through the roads and everything.
It does,
Right.
doesn't it? Joins up to the current main line, doesn't
Yeah.
Which
it?
goes here into Norwich, which I think that's its substation.
That's right.
Yeah, so we could catch a train there up to Sheringham, and then catch a train there to Holt.
Well,
Have a cup of tea there.
We
'cause
can
they
do
have
all that,
tea
can't we?
We could do that, my darling.
Yeah, we can do that, no problem.
Right.
So we're coming up to the engine shed in a minute, aren't we?
Yeah, what we'd have to do is get the ticket from Norwich to Holt, so that means the train goes over the road.
Well then, so when were you digging? Doing a test pit, Sam?
Well, this was the day just before we left, the other day.
Right, hang on a minute, turn around. What do you think was here then, Sam?
Well, the driver's mess room.
Do you? The
And,
mess room?
yeah.
What would have gone in there?
well, it was where drivers, before they got on their trains,
Yeah,
used to come and have some lunch.
did they?
Yeah.
Oh right, where all the engine drivers used to
Yeah,
stop
and
for lunch, was it?
here, Fonz said to me that there used to be a big floor here, which used to be the mess room floor.
Really?
Yeah, and I think some of
Oh.
it's going to be
Because
here.
I think you could probably dig down and find some of it, could you?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause there's a lot of stuff down there, isn't there?
He said that he's got
Bits
the
of brick.
manager said his name's John Batley, and he said that he's got a picture somewhere
Yeah.
of him.
Do you know what we didn't
sitting
talk about when we
looking
were
at-
here a minute ago? Because we've
What?
just been to the engine shed, haven't we?
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the signal box. We forgot about the signal box, didn't we?
Yeah.
But I think we can show on this video where the signal box used to be with the
Yeah.
engine shed,
Well,
can't
we
we?
can put the picture in which we did for the last
Yeah,
video again.
yeah, that's all right then. Okay,
Hang on a second.
all right, we'll do that.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.